Blacksmith Will Turner teams up with eccentric pirate Captain Jack Sparrow to save his love from Jack's former pirate allies, who are now undead.
Hi, I'm Andre.
I'm Michelle.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Luis.
And we are the Walt Vault, a family-friendly podcast where we get silly and talk about Disney movies. Hello and welcome to the Walt Vault, episode 20.
Oh, I'm jumping the gun again.
Yes.
Sorry.
Well, you only had one bullet in that gun, Michelle, and you've already used it, so...
Oh,
Now you
man.
can't shoot Barbosa.
Dang it.
Rude. Today we're talking about Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl.
The Curse of the Black Pearl.
Yes.
So the original Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
This movie came out in 2003. It was directed by Gore Verbinski. It's the first Disney live-action film to be rated PG-13.
PG-13.
Ooh.
What?
Close your ears, children.
Raise your eyebrows, adults.
Right? This movie started off a pirates obsession during my middle school years, for sure. Like, this is my first impression. I vividly remember how obsessed I was with pirates, and I couldn't decide who I liked better. Did I have a crush on Will Turner, or did I have a crush on Captain Jack Sparrow? I couldn't decide. And then we would go to Disneyland, and, you know, you wear things like Disney fandoms that you're into at the moment.
You know how you wear
Like,
things.
I wear Star Wars shirts,
Like
and I vividly remember I had
To
this,
cover
like,
your nakedness?
it wasn't mesh, but it was like a see-through, faded gray and black shirt that had like a giant skull on the front. And then I had this really not attractive plastic Pirates of the Caribbean necklace. And I would wear it every single time we went to Disneyland, like in middle school, because I was obsessed, and I would make my parents go on the ride multiple times. And when, I believe it's the second movie that has the cliffhanger at the end, when
Dead Man's Chest.
the cliffhanger,
Mhm.
which we all know. I made my parents take us to the AMC in downtown Disney on a Disneyland trip because it came out that weekend and was like, we have to see it now. And then the cliffhanger ruined the rest of my entire trip because I was just thinking about it like, what? So ruined my middle school days because I was so obsessed with it. It's fine.
Wow.
I'm sure other people were obsessed with it too.
No. There
There
was
were
definite
a lot of-
obsessions.
There was
Yeah,
a lot of
a lot.
obsession with this.
What are
with
your
this
first
movie.
impressions, Andre?
Um,
Mine is just reminiscing. Like, it brings back memories. So there we go.
yeah, I saw this movie when it came out, I think. I don't remember getting excited about this movie. Like, Pirates of the Caribbean was never, like, my favorite ride at Disneyland or anything.
It was
like
one
that.
of my favorites growing up.
Like, I liked it, but pirates aren't, I'm not super into pirates.
You're super into space pirates.
That's right.
True.
If that
You just
sword
don't like
isn't
water.
a laser, then I don't really
I
care
like
about
water.
it.
'cause
You don't
I'm a
care about.
mermaid.
You don't like water pirates. You like
Wow.
space pirates.
Yes.
Our whole life
Space
makes
pirates.
sense now.
You're welcome.
because I'm a mermaid, so I
Yeah.
like water pirates, and he's not.
Water pirates.
Water pirates. Yeah, so I was
And I'm
I wasn't
into cowboys.
I wasn't super excited.
So you have sand pirates.
Sand
Oh,
Sand
Sand
pirates.
pirates.
Everyone, what
Desert
kind of
pirates.
pirates do you like?
Food pirates?
Oh.
No, I don't know.
Oh man.
No, I like regular pirates.
Oh, okay.
I like Johnny Depp looking pirates.
Yeah.
There you
right. But I remember being
Addie
very,
also
Addie likes it too. She says wah. She likes water pirates.
for an entire genre of movies that I'm not like super interested in. I love these pirates movies because, like, once again, I don't truly care about pirates. Like any other pirate movie, I don't really give a rat about, but
don't give a
I don't give a rip. Yeah, I don't give a Remy, but for
Give her Remy.
but for Pirates of the Caribbean, I'm super into it. So this movie was very good when I first saw it, and I enjoyed it upon this viewing as well,
Very
despite
nice.
how tired I was when I watched it.
His eyes did stay open. He didn't fall asleep.
That's right.
You
Boom.
can't fall asleep during
Ha-ha.
this. No.
He heard the cannons and was like, "I'm awake."
Yeah, there was a bunch of cannons going off.
What about you, Emily?
I remember the first time I watched this movie. My very conservative grandmother took me and my cousin to go see this movie. Now, my cousin is 5 years older than me. And so how old were we in 2002, Andre? Like, take us back, because I don't know.
12,
I was in
12.
I was in
12.
5th grade in 2003, so I don't know what grade you guys
Oh,
were in.
Lord.
Well,
Okay.
Yeah, we were 12 or 13. I think.
Okay, so not that young, but younger, right?
Yeah.
And so my cousin was like closer to, like she was upper high school, and my grandma takes us, and I don't think she realized what this movie was going to be like, even though it's not like that sassy, but like there is action, there are some suggestive scenes, and I remember my grandma sitting there like white knuckling the seat and being like, your mother's gonna kill me.
Oh my god.
And it's hilarious because when you watch it as an adult, you see all of those things
Right.
that are like, ooh, PG-13, right? Eyebrow. But as a kid, man, it's just so enthralling.
It's just exciting.
It's just exciting
it literally,
and fun.
like, and I think that's why I was so obsessed with it. It was probably one of the first, like, whole series that I saw that was, like, action-packed. Because I was, like,
Oh,
in 5th
yeah.
grade. You know, I wasn't watching really those kind of movies yet. And then Disney came out with this. And my parents took me to every Disney movie. So it
Oh,
was,
yeah.
like, rocked my world. I was
Well,
like,
and-
what is this?
And it's
Great.
funny that you say that because we didn't have Marvel at like big
No.
cinematic universe
No.
at that time. So now
But-
kids are coming out and seeing all of these action
Oh,
movies
yeah.
one after the
we
other.
didn't have that.
We
No.
really didn't.
So when
Spider-Man
this
and
came-
X-Men had just come out right before this, and Lord of the Rings as well.
Yeah, but I
those,
wasn't
like-
watching those.
Well, at
I was
least-
watching Disney stuff.
Yeah, that's
Or-
not quite like a kid movie though.
2 Harry Potters, I think, at this point. But yeah, you guys are right.
Yeah,
Like, this
but the first 2 Harry Potters are relatively
was Kitty. Yeah.
kiddie.
Mhm.
You know, This
They're
Pirates
chilling with
movie
their
came
action,
out,
with their
and they're ripping-
magic
Yeah.
pirates. I'll be a
Magic
magic pirate.
Do you think about the things
They
that
didn't
Captain?
steal anything. They're not
Oh, geez.
pirates.
Oh,
That Philosopher's Stone didn't get to Hogwarts all by itself. You know what I'm talking about?
boom.
Magic
Dun,
pirate.
dun,
It
Magic.
wasn't stolen either.
It was stolen.
Transported
Well, oh,
there
wait, yeah, you're right. It
because they
wasn't stolen.
willingly went into
We're
a
not
safe
talking
and-
about Harry Potter.
It was almost stolen. Anyway,
We should.
Ron,
It was in the process of being stolen, so there.
Ron Weasley.
No pirates
Hermione.
there.
Luis, what is your first impressions
This
on this
movie is
Pirates
really good. I would so watch it just right now if we could, but we're doing a podcast.
Let's just
you guys want to
stop.
stop doing this podcast and watch
Let's
Pirates
just
of the
stop and
Caribbean?
rewatch.
Well, we can't take a pause because Emily had something wonderful to say about a listener.
Oh, yeah. So I wanted to share, we all like to share when people write in.
Yeah, we love it.
We actually enjoy hearing your feedback because it kind of puts things in a perspective that it's not just about us, because when we talk, man, like,
Word.
it's just about us.
Yeah,
So-
it's about us.
But it's so cool to hear you guys' feedback. So we wanted to share something that Jason Michael wrote into us. He is actually an absolutely fabulous glass artist for the Arribas brothers at Walt Disney World, and he's also the host of the Wise Guy Radio Show podcast. Find him on Instagram. He has some really cool stuff that he posts. He
Yeah,
just
I
finished.
think he's making a baby Groot right now, and it's
Yes.
absolutely beautiful.
Oh, it's so cute. He's just really masterful with his craft, it's really cool to see something like that, because definitely I'm not doing nothing with glass. I'm not doing nothing with my hair half the time. So it's really
Let
good to
alone fire and glass.
Yeah, no. But he was talking about how he had just finished the Aladdin episode that we did, and how he had a really good time listening to it because Aladdin was one of his favorite movies, and how he remembers that his sister bought him the VHS on his 18th birthday, and he like binge watched it over and over. And doesn't that just take you back, binge watching VHS?
yes.
Right?
That's amazing.
You got to stop it and then
Rewind.
rewind it.
And then very impatiently, like, come on, I want to watch it again.
Exactly.
Let's go, rewind.
I remember those times, man. But he also was talking about how he really liked the soundtrack, and how the music just really hit home with him, and he just really enjoyed it, because that was one of the ones that we said was our favorite.
Oh, yeah.
all,
It's the
all
best
around music.
soundtrack of what we've reviewed so far.
Oh
you know?
yeah. And the really cool thing too was that he sent us a link to the Wailing Dawn. They're a like a barbershop kind of quartet-y thing. They actually sound like a mix between the like a all male pentatonics and like a straight no chaser. And they were doing an Aladdin medley, so that was really cool.
Yeah, it was super cool. If you guys haven't heard that, give it a listen.
Yeah, go on
It's
YouTube
great.
and find them out.
Check
They're-
them out.
We enjoy hearing all of the fun. But the end of his message said, "Have a great Sunday. I'll be at the Magic Kingdom all day, melting away." Well, we're over here in California, which we should be melting, but it was raining that day, so
And it's raining all next week. Womp womp.
Still cold here.
so we'll just womp womp in the center of California, because I'm pretty sure all of you Los Angelesians because that's a word, right?
It's a word.
Angelinos.
All you Angelinos down there are having a nice weekend while we're
Well,
in the
Central Valleyans are over here being wet.
Getting drenched.
drenched.
Too loose. Drenched.
Little sprinkle.
Little sprinkle.
So thank you, Mr. Michael.
Little
for-
drizzle.
Thank you guys all for writing in. We appreciate it, and we'll keep reading your messages on the show if you keep sending them
Yes,
to
thank
us.
you guys so much. So,
Hold on, before we go on.
oh, you always cut me off.
I know. Hey, you cut me off too.
You
I know.
jumped the gun.
I'm a jump the gunner for sure.
I wanted to share also that we had the pleasure of hanging out with one of our listener friends yesterday. Her name is Mary Angela.
Hello, Mary.
Hey, Mary.
Hey, Mary. Hey, Lou, you want to say hi?
Hey.
He's like, I hung out with you yesterday. I want to say hey. We got to hang out with Mary Angela yesterday, and she was also sharing how she enjoys the podcast and everything. And it's funny because she is a Disney music junkie, and it actually is funny because I remember Mary Angela in middle school and high school being so obsessed with Pirates of the Caribbean. She literally wore like the Jack Sparrow, like
I remember her in that hat.
in the hat,
a
like
lot.
the big old hat.
Oh, she's my spirit animal right now.
So, and it was hilarious because she would run around in it. Like she
That's
loved that
hilarious.
thing. But I bring her up because she's, like I said, a music junkie, and so she was telling us how much she enjoys listening every Monday, how she plugs in during her traffic commute, and she's listening to us. And she said, "But I just want to let you know that, you know, sometimes
This is a great impression of Mary Angela.
I just want to let you know that sometimes, you know, you say that someone is someone and it's not really who's saying it. And so I just would like, correcting you through my, through my podcast app. I'm just letting you know that that's not correct. But it's so cute because we just want to share that we know sometimes we are not always.
We're not 100% accurate.
I'm not
okay?
100% as knowledgeable about movies as I am about the parks. Like, ask me about the parks, I got you. Movies, it's hearsay, man.
I currently have like 7 Pirates of the Caribbean tabs open on my computer, but that's still not enough to keep me from not being wrong during
about
this podcast.
all kinds of stuff.
About
So
all
funny.
kinds of
I'm
stuff.
not even 100% on my
Andre's
own life.
research and development right now.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm always right.
Okay,
Leave me out of
okay.
Mr. Old Man Negative over here, always
Old
right.
man
Oh, man,
negative.
negative.
But we just want to throw out there that we totally can and will be wrong. So
Oh, yeah, it's going to happen.
we appreciate it when you do correct us, but we also are just giving our opinions and thoughts too. So
But yes, if we say something wrong, let us know.
Straight up, we'll do a corrections corner, and we will let you
We
guys
will
know.
do, oh my God, I'm such a behavior analyst. We will do a correction procedure and then put it back into your brains the correct way so that
That's
you don't
right.
remember
So I think last
how we
week.
messed up.
that sounds like a science pirate.
Behavior pirate.
Yeah, so I think last week we said that Hans Zimmer was doing all of the music for Pirates of
Yes.
the Caribbean, and he came up with
We
the
were
theme
wrong.
and all that stuff. But we weren't totally wrong.
We were like 10% wrong.
Mostly wrong.
Hey, 10%.
10% wrong.
10% is not most.
50.
So this movie actually had a couple of composers on it. Hans Zimmer was there in a producer kind of capacity, but the music was actually composed by a man named Klaus Badelt. Mr. Klaus Badelt. So he did
Use it, claws.
Klaus Badelt.
Klaus Badelt. And Hans Zimmer was kind of hanging out in the background doing producer things.
He
I'm
wasn't
not really
sure,
what a music
right? He
producer
was
does.
like,
This is one of the best things that I read about this movie. So apparently, Hans Zimmer, the brilliant mind that he is, heard that Disney was doing a Pirates movie and literally was like, "Pirates, really?"
Pilots.
that's literally what he
I
said.
don't
He
think
said-
so.
He's like, "I don't think so. That sounds a little silly."
Nuh-uh.
Wow, you just turned him into an Asian woman. I don't know.
No,
That was not.
that's my German accent.
Stop.
Oh my gosh.
Stop it.
No pirates. No.
No pirates.
No pirates. No.
Oh Lord.
Toulouse.
Toulouse.
to lose. No, so he didn't like the idea of it. He couldn't like see how that would come live action to fruition in an action sequence, which I don't think a lot of people could. So he actually was like, no, I will not be doing that Disney Pirates movie. And one of he talked to the director, he talked to some of the other composers on the track, and they were like, you need to see this screenplay. Like, you need to see these action sequences. He watched them and was like, whoa, get me back in on this movie, y'all. This movie, get me in, y'all. So he came in as the music producer, which is really cool. And he's still credited with the theme song being the Zimmer theme because it is so magically...
And it's
Zimmery.
And now it's known as like Pirates of the Caribbean music. That was Zimmer. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So that's why we were incorrect at the beginning.
And he did come on to fully compose the second and third.
And fourth and fifth.
Fourth and fifth. Wow.
Yes. So when
Go ahead.
when I think of Hans Zimmer, I think of Pirates of the Caribbean. Andre
heck
thinks
yeah.
of Batman and things
Batman.
like that. But it's funny because
The street pirate.
Emily was telling us earlier.
Crime pirate.
Emily was telling us earlier that this isn't the first time that that's happened. Like, he'll kind of let a first movie go through and keep an eye on it, and then if it does well, he's like, bring me back in. And he'll do the sequels, which is kind of a funny strategy, but I mean, if you're Hans Zimmer, you can do what you want.
Well, and it's smart to do that because he'll take, like, if you are a music weirdo like me, who I had the soundtracks, you guys. I had like the score soundtracks and I listened to them. So I literally, you know how you said that like you guys have like said the movie, like you've talked along with the dialogue the entire movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
I sang the
so
entire
did I.
movie. Like I know from the first moment to the end, like oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. Luis was looking at me like, can you shut up?
I do that with Star
I
Wars.
do that.
He's
I
like,
do that with
we don't
Pirates.
need you, Emily. Yes, you do.
Andre does that with Star Wars to the point where he'll start the movie in the car and he's humming the entire score, and I'm just like, what's going on?
I love putting Star Wars music on shuffle and then guessing which movie it came from, like which song. I was like, this is an Empire track right here.
It's funny because that was kind of my point is I can do that with Pirates for sure because in this first movie, it's just beautifully, and we were talking about it, it's kind of jovial. Like
it's almost like, yes, it's a Pirates movie and there's these action scenes, but it almost sounds jovial and like angelic when it's like da da dun dun da da dun dun, like it's way
light
upbeat.
and fun.
And then
and
you
it's
get to
exciting.
the second movie
Yeah.
and you're like, bum. There's like the drums in the background and everything like that.
And that's Hans Zimmer for you. You can tell where his
That's
influence really sets in because it gets so much more dramatic, so much more exciting.
He likes
which
that heavy
I
bass and
love.
then strings.
And I'm
about it. I think we had mentioned this before, like on one of our very earlier podcasts, but Hans Zimmer did a live set at Coachella last year. And so Andre and I, you know, we're poor. We can't go to Coachella. So we watched the live
Also,
stream
I
of
don't
Hans
want to.
Zimmer.
It's hot out there. There's a bunch of
Whatever. I would
teens.
go. But we were so excited for Hans Zimmer, so we live streamed it.
Street youths.
Yeah, it was
And
youths.
when, oh my God, when he was like started playing the Pirates,
millennials,
you know,
Get
I'm
out.
Millennials.
But they're
I
like
am
worse.
not a millennial.
Okay, you're a millennial. Go ahead, Michelle. I know. I'm sorry.
anyways, when he was starting to play Pirates, and it was just like the little cellos, and they're like, we're like, it's coming, and then all of a sudden they like the lights turn on to the back of the stage, and there's like tons of drums, and people are like, boom, 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 boom. We like lost our minds.
I
I wish you guys could have seen her right now.
Point being,
beating
go
up my table.
watch Hans Zimmer's Coachella 2017 live set because you will love it.
I think it is on YouTube. So
It
go,
is
on
go,
YouTube.
go check it out. There's some Batman in there.
Man, I don't care about the Batman. I was
Andre's
digging
like, what
that
are all the
Pirates.
other things as
some
well?
Inception in there.
And it's so
Inception,
funny because
oh.
shout out to my sister, my older sister Nikki, who's in Bali right now. Must be nice.
Must
She
be
grew
nice.
up playing the piano. Like we would go to this piano place in Oakdale at someone's house and learn how to play the piano. And I gave up about 2 years in. I just couldn't do it. I was over it. But she was very, very good at the piano. And we had this little tiny keyboard in our house that she would practice on. So when this movie came out, she was all about playing like the dun 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 dun, like on the piano. And so she would play it, and I would just go to the base of the piano and like click the one key, like when it needed to be clicked, like the
I
drum.
like how you say click.
I
you're
clicked that
clicking.
piano key.
And I would literally come in her room all the time and be like, pirates? And she'd be like, yeah, pirates. And she would start playing it, and I would just push the one key. But then I would like sing along with it, like da-da-dun, da-da-dun, while she was playing it. So, like I said, this movie brings back a lot of nostalgic memories for me. Why are you guys laughing at my click in the piano?
Yes, that's hilarious. I dig it.
She could probably still play it if she wanted to.
Listen to how beautiful that piano clicks. Amazing.
Anyways,
All right.
Double click or right click?
it was a right click.
The black keys are the right clicks. The white keys. Are the
Black
left
keys,
clicks.
black pearl. I mean, come on.
Oh. Very
All right, let's talk about this movie.
We are.
Well,
Are we
focusing
done
heavily
with our
on
music discussion? Because that's like the
For
best
now,
part.
I'm sure it'll come.
Oh,
back
we're
around.
coming back to no.
No, no, no.
Nah.
Oh,
No.
Addie's singing it in the background. She's like, na na na. There it is. That was
Beautiful.
it. You heard it here first. Addie likes Hans Zimmer.
That baby knows her music.
That's right.
So,
Good job, Mama.
you know what? I got to get this out of my system right away.
Go ahead.
Still can't decide who I had a crush on more.
Oh my
Was it
God.
Will Turner or was it Jack Sparrow?
Disney dads.
No.
I will never know. Disney dads. I will never know who I actually liked
Technically, the only Disney dad, spoiler alert, is
Don't.
one of them.
Is one of them.
Is
more. One of them has a
50%.
child. Okay.
Yes.
Anyways,
not in this movie.
the point
Later.
being, well, eventually. That's the last movie, though. We won't get to that.
What was your point?
The point is, well, okay, so Will Turner first comes on the screen, and granted, Orlando Bloom is, you know, he's about 20 years, he's older now. He's about 15 years older than he was.
Oh.
And he has just like this little baby face that I don't remember. And of
That is
course, we
real
had
cute.
just watched Lord of the Rings a couple months ago, so I thought it was so ironic that Legolas was in there making swords and stuff. You know, Will Turner, Legolas making swords.
Legolas.
But he was so cute, right? He had his little ponytail, and then
tiny little mustache.
Captain Jack comes on screen with his sinking ship, pulling it up to the dock, and I'm like, well, but he's better. Like I don't.
The man makes an entrance.
He
Oh,
makes an entrance.
Every time that scene, like he flashes on, you see him at the mast, and he is like,
there he
it's
is.
glorious, right? And you
Right.
think to yourself,
Eyeliner
that's
on
a
fleek.
pirate. He has better eyeliner than Jafar.
Yeah, he
I was
does.
Whoa.
surprised. I know. But he's standing up there, and it's like a sun, and it's just gorgeous. And then it pans back, and you see he's on a freaking little dinghy, like not even on a ship. And then it
That is
sinks.
rapidly sinking.
Oh,
And then the little guy's like, it's a shilling to park your boat, and he's like,
park your boat.
what? And he's like,
How about 3 shillings?
Forget
And we
the
don't
name.
talk about my name.
Good day, Mr. Smith. Okay.
Welcome to Port Royal, Mr. Smith.
There's just something about, like, yes, Will Turner is, like, the good, you know, he's, like, the good little boy, and he doesn't want to become a pirate, and he doesn't like
little
pirates.
boy.
And then Johnny Depp comes on screen, and I lose it every
He's
time.
a good little eunuch.
You know, and it's so,
I read
never
that all of
mind.
those eunuch jokes were improvised by Johnny Depp.
I was going to say...
Of course they were, though.
I was gonna say something, but I'll save it for Crack in the Vault. So if you're not a
Oh.
Patreon, you better subscribe for this episode.
Patreon.com/The Walt Vault.
Michelle has some.
Some things to say about Johnny Depp, and say what you will about him now. He's absolutely brilliant. In
He's
this role.
he's a very good performer, and
Oh.
this is a role that was.
It's the role that is most perfect for him. Like when I think
Yeah.
of
Which is
Johnny
interesting
Depp, I'm like,
'cause-
oh, you mean Jack Sparrow? Because that's who he is to me.
Oh yeah.
There were like a million other dudes that they
Had
they
considered?
wanted, yeah, that they
Oh.
considered for this movie, like Jim Carrey and Christopher Walken.
Oh
and,
God.
No.
and Robin Williams and just a bunch of
No.
guys, because they started actually writing this movie in the 90s, I believe, but it didn't get put into like real production until like 2001. So they had a few names in mind before.
All of those names that you just said, I can't even.
Makes me want to throw
can't
up.
even imagine what that would look
Christopher Walken as Jack Sparrow, I would never have liked the movie.
like. A fall and break
Hold
a hip
on,
while
hold
he's
on.
like
Savvy.
jumping around.
Hold on. Let's not get too drastic.
What are you
King
doing?
Louis doesn't
Savvy.
deserve to be on there.
No. But you need to
I'm
see.
cutting Jack Sparrow.
You need to see
Savvy.
Christopher Walken in his silliness. He's quite
That's right.
hilarious.
I like Christopher Walken.
No, I like him too, but do I see
wouldn't
him
have had
as
a
like
crush on him.
Like I'm gonna.
Well, Michelle, not everything is about your crushes.
Whatever.
I'm just gonna say this is a term, so it's not too past the crack in the vault. Plus, this is a PG-13 movie. Like, I don't look at Christopher Walken and think sex pot. I'm sorry.
Right.
Like,
I
I
don't
don't.
either. No.
And I would never. Like, there's no way you can dress him up to be like, put him in a skirt and pumps, and I'm not gonna think.
And like I said, this movie came out around my middle school days. So Johnny Depp was he was a gorgeous human being, but Christopher Walken, no.
I mean, you could have stepped away and not had him as a sex pot and just had Will Turner, and
Right.
it would have been just fine.
Well, and then my decision
That's
would have
true.
been made
Jack
for me.
Sparrow would have been just the silly pirate guy, and Will Turner would have
And
been
then,
the true
That's true.
protagonist
Yeah.
and
and
hero
then
of the
That's
movie.
Keira
true.
Knightley's character would not have pissed
Oh.
me off in the second movie.
Keira Knightley would have had to kiss Christopher Walken. Okay, I'm just saying
If they
that
took it that way.
cliffhanger. I know we're not talking about the second movie, but
We're
that
not.
cliffhanger messed up my middle school years. It was all I could think about. This is why I don't watch TV shows until like it's finished, and then I start it, because then I don't have any cliffhangers. I just
Well,
watch the next episode.
As
Michelle
long
has
as,
no patience.
None.
As long as that cliffhanger kept you away from boys, if I were your dad, I would have been okay with it.
Whatever.
Oh my lord. Oh my gosh.
Dadcast.
Dadcast.
Yeah, so they also considered like Matthew McConaughey and Carrie Elwes, who's the guy from The Princess Bride, and
I like him though.
right, yeah. So they had a bunch of
Okay,
bunch of
so you're right. I mean, Johnny Depp brought Johnny Depp to Captain Jack Sparrow, and like you said, there's so much improvising that he did here. So if someone else played him, we would have had a different Captain
Right.
Jack Sparrow, and we would have been okay with
this
it.
would
but
have been a different franchise.
Oh,
basically, you
for
know,
sure.
depending
But
on how well that particular actor did.
It may not have been as successful, in my opinion.
Correct. Yeah.
But I don't think it would have been catastrophic.
it's funny that you say that though, because I think if there had been a different Jack Sparrow, then Will Turner would have been more important. Like to the viewership.
Yeah.
But when you think of Pirates of the Caribbean, I don't automatically think Will Turner at all.
Right.
I automatically
It's
think
Jack Sparrow.
It's Jack Sparrow all the way, and then my favorite boy, who we will save for a little bit because his holy name will go down
Hey,
in the book of Fantastic Pirate E. I'm so excited. Who's your favorite pirate?
by,
who's your-
by holy, she means, spoiler alert, at the end, how he has a hole in his chest.
Wow, you just gave it away.
Barbosa?
My favorite's Barbosa. There you go. Rude.
There's a lot of
Hoisting
build-up.
anchors.
I'm sorry. He is so fabulous. Jeffrey Rush
Barbosa's
is
the best.
beautiful. Not
He is
beautiful,
a-
like
no.
beauti-
You
no,
mean
he
his
could be
acting.
beautiful.
He is
He's a very good
great
actor
pirate.
because like I think I don't know what other stuff I've necessarily seen Jeffrey Rush in, but I don't know that I would even recognize him as
Absolutely not.
as the same guy. He's such a he is Barbosa. You know what I'm saying? Like
He's Barbosa.
Oh.
he very much is that character. And like I was looking at pictures of him the other day. I was like, that's Barbosa.
He
This
doesn't look
dude?
like him at all.
At all.
Did
He
you lose
really
your mind
gets
when he
into the
came
character.
back in the other movie?
Oh my God.
Michelle, stop jumping forward.
Sorry.
Curse of the Black Pearl.
Okay.
But yes, I did lose my mind.
Well, she said she likes him. He
Yeah.
died in this movie, so you know.
My
He did.
favorite pirate is the monkey.
The monkey.
The monkey. He's
That's
the
because
best
you're
pirate.
Aladdin.
We
He's
named him
basically
Jack.
Abu.
Yeah, his name is Jack.
Yeah. We named the monkey Jack.
That was brilliant. Good job.
Oh, I love him.
Oh, by the way, I forgot an actor. They actually named him Jack Sparrow because they were going to have Hugh Jackman play him.
Oh, so now I would have been okay with that.
Right.
I
That
would have been
interesting.
all
But
kinds of
apparently-
all right
I
with
love
that.
Hugh Jackman.
But apparently they didn't offer it to him because he wasn't a big enough star at the time. He wasn't.
know
he
what?
wasn't a good
Hugh-
get, even
Hugh
though he was
Jackman
Wolverine already.
is a
How the
brilliant,
heck was he not?
brilliant actor
yes.
and singer and
He's just brilliant
the
all
greatest,
the way around.
the greatest showman. That's all I have to say.
Puns.
Okay.
So yeah,
Wow.
Monkey, Barbosa, Michelle. Who's your favorite pirate?
You said monkey. I thought you were
Sparrow.
talking about the baby who's saying
Sparrow's my favorite.
Oh, Jack.
Yeah, Jack.
That makes sense.
Jack Jack.
Yeah.
Oh,
Luis, do you have a favorite pirate?
Luis has favorites that aren't pirates.
I'll be honest with you guys. I don't want to say I have an outright favorite pirate here, but it's a very close tie between Jack and Barbossa.
Because they're brilliant.
But who's your favorite character?
My favorite character? I think I'm going to go with you and say Barbossa.
Oh, I was not expecting that because during the movie we were watching it and he was all about Norrington.
Norrington!
No, you're right.
Norrington!
Luis loves some Norrington.
Here's the
Oh my
reason
God.
why.
Luis loves rules.
I do like. I like a little bit of
Like some
What's
structure.
wrong with you,
a little
Norrington?
bit of order and peace on my salad, please. No, but he is technically speaking for this movie not a pirate.
Correct.
So
Right, that's
therefore,
true.
he's
Not yet.
my favorite pirate.
Not yet.
But-
I keep
Michelle
jumping
says-
the gun again.
You only had one bullet in that gun, Michelle.
I
don't know
I've wasted it
how-
already.
What you're doing now? But I would say my favorite character is Norrington, just because it's kind of like I don't know who to compare him to, but it's hard to hate him.
No, you
Because
can't.
He's just trying to keep order. He's trying to be a gentleman.
He's
in
doing his
everything
job.
He does. And recently, we seen a movie with my in-laws, with my mother-in-law and my grandmother-in-law, where he actually comes out in that movie. I forgot what it was called, but he is hilarious in that movie.
Oh,
And
yeah. He's a really good actor.
The
It made
actor's
me
name is,
appreciate
he
him
plays
a bit
Norrington super well.
His name is Jack Davenport.
more. No,
yeah,
he's a
he's
great
very good. I like
actor.
him.
You want to know how
We
I feel?
actually saw him in the movie The Wedding Date.
The wedding.
Oh
So
yeah, if
he
you
was
haven't
hilarious in
seen
that
that
one.
movie, that's quite
I
hilarious.
love
still.
that movie. I watched that movie a lot growing up.
It's quite
a
funny.
great movie. This is how I feel about Norrington. You know, when Elizabeth Swann, she's talking to him on the side of the cliff, and he's going to propose. And granted, she falls over because she can't breathe in her corset.
Man,
but I think
corsets
that's
are evil.
You know, she's just bored to death and then dies. Like, you know,
I
falls
think I
over.
wrote in my notes, she is literally dying while talking to this man.
The sad thing about it, though, is I think watching it as a kid, I didn't like Norrington because he wasn't the bad boy. But
Yeah.
watching it as an adult, I'm like, like Louis said, there's nothing wrong with him. He's actually quite the gentleman.
Right.
He allows her to like break her promise. Like he's just
Go ahead, Michelle.
Michelle. What is it
her
that you want to
ribs
say?
Were cracking and breaking into her lung.
You know
she
what's
was
wrong
not
with him?
bored.
What's wrong with him is in the first scene, he's old and she's a kid, and then
It's
okay,
funny
so
that
hold
you
on.
say that.
We
were
did have an
yeah.
argument about that, me and Ems.
that's what's wrong with it.
Yeah, but here's the deal, though. Back
Time
in that
period
day,
wise.
she would be.
Sure.
I think she was like what, maybe 12 or something, maybe
12 or 13
10,
maybe.
and he was like in his early 20s.
Yeah.
he was not the ship captain.
Yeah,
he was
wasn't
like
yet.
like the first mate, and typically the first mate is someone of drastic age difference to the captain, so they could eventually take over the ship for the long
And
run.
I know that was kind of the thing at the time, but for me, like right now, saying there was this, like he knew she was a kid at the time. He saw her grow up, and then he liked her. That to me is weird because like
Yeah.
you've known them as a child.
I
You
agree
know
with
what I
that.
mean?
I get what you're
Yeah.
So
saying.
that's why it
When he's
freaks
an
me out a
adult,
little bit.
yeah.
But
We
for
were
the time, it's
We were trying to
normal.
figure it out, and I would say maybe like a 7 or 8 year
Right,
difference.
yeah.
So think about it now. Like I'm 20. I don't even know how old I am. We'll pretend I'm
26.
No,
actually.
we could pretend I'm 25.
Okay.
So if I was 25 and someone was 7 years older than me, like 32, 33, that's
It's
really
not
Right.
weird.
It's
yeah.
not that
Okay.
weird.
It's
But I
just weird
understand-
because he knew her as a kid.
No, I totally get it.
Yeah.
But he's actually a really good guy. And even at the end when
is.
he's like, we can afford them like a 1 day head
We'll give 'em a
start.
day.
And you're like, all right. Like I see you with swagger all of a sudden. You
Or
become
even when Elizabeth Swann chooses Will Turner, he's like, "This is where your heart lies," and she's like, "Yes."
Yeah,
and
he
he's just like,
respected her wishes.
"Okay,"
Which is
like
pretty cool.
he's not happy about it.
he
but-
could have been like a total you know what about it and
Right.
just been like
Kill
nah
him
nah
anyway,
nah
yeah.
like let's kill them all.
You're marrying me.
You're marrying me.
He's a stand-up guy. He's not that bad, but
He's not that bad.
Not that bad.
I do love. I love the two royal guards that
Yep.
are like blocking the
Those dudes
ship
are awesome.
from Jack when he's trying to. How does he say it though? He's not stealing. He's
Hold
like-
on. He's commandeering
Yes,
a vessel.
commandeering the
Commandeering a vessel.
interceptor.
Before you go on, I think this is a good time for
Oh, the battle. Oh, nice.
All the buttabuzz.
All right,
I
ladies
told
and
you we'd get back
gents.
to the buttaba.
For this week's battle, who's a more useless pair?
Oh, I love
Pintel
this.
and Ragetti, the pirate dweebs who dress up as
Pirate
damsels,
dweebs.
or Murtaugh and Mulroy, the Port Royal Guards,
Oh,
looking after
my
the
God.
interceptor that Michelle was just talking about.
It's so funny because those two duos are the best.
They're
They're
so
awesome.
Oh my
good.
gosh.
I love them both.
And they're both so useless, but so
Yes,
fabulous at the same time.
exactly.
So the two pirates that they're talking about is like the short one that's bald on top of his head but has like long curly hair.
Ew.
When he's like, look, oh,
Ew.
the best line from him is when he's all, "Hello, puppet."
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the best.
Oh, yeah. He
Gross.
tries to be scary, but
Come
he's really not
here,
scary.
puppet. We know you're in here. Oh, that gives me chills every time. And then the tall, skinny one who has the eyeball that always falls out and the fork
Ragetti.
goes in it. Ah, so funny.
It's
I
a
love
wooden
them.
eyeball.
Yeah.
Imagine how it splinters. He said it splinters
Oh.
in his eye.
So funny.
So
So them
I'm
and then
cringing
the
in my
two,
seat.
the two royal guards who this is how useless they are. Jack is trying to commandeer the Interceptor, which is the fastest ship in the British Navy or whatever. So the two guards, and he's like, "Why are you guys over here? Why aren't you at this important thing?" You know? And they're like, "Well, somebody has to look after it." And what does he say? Something about
The Black Pearl's not a real ship.
yeah. He says, "Well, the Black
is
Pearl
real.
is the fastest," and then he's like, "No, it is real." And then they just start arguing.
Start
about
arguing
it.
about the.
The little one reminds me of Martin Freeman for some
Yes,
reason.
he does.
And it's funny because if you watch, this is one of the things that takes Pirates, at least for me, to the next level. And I know this isn't really about them per se, but they do it very well. When you look, you can literally watch this movie and never look at Johnny Depp. Like, if you look at everyone in the background, the facial expressions are so like on point. Every single person is acting the entire time. Orlando Bloom's the best at this. Like, his facial expressions in the background are hilarious. But those two, when they're arguing, those two guards,
So funny.
they literally are looking at each other like, "You are the stupidest human being I have ever seen." It is a real ship. And you're like, "Oh, God."
And the other one's like, "No ghost stories."
So you've seen a black ship that does not come pirated by the damned.
Right.
And he's like, no. And he's like, what?
It's like, "So you didn't see the Black Pearl?" He's all, "Yes, I did." Like, just so
Seen it.
stupid, but
So good, though.
So dumb.
so stupid. I love them so,
So,
much.
in terms of their uselessness,
Pretty useless.
they're both pairs are pretty useless. The two pirates grabbed the wrong Turner.
But listen, this is my argument. They did grab the wrong Turner, but that's only because she stole the coin. So
Yeah.
they did bring her the corn with the coin.
The corn.
They did
Bring 'em the
bring
corn.
Bring me my
Barbosa the coin and the girl, which Will Turner wants, which in turns, they really did bring the right person because he was going to come after her. So therefore, I think that the two guards are more useless than the two pirates.
They did let him steal that ship, literally
Straight up.
right under their noses.
I think that they're more useless than the
they
two
weren't even
pirates.
they
They
were
at
just
least brought
looking
him
at
the
each
coin.
other, and he slipped away.
At least they brought him the coin, and they brought him the girl, which in turn brought them the boy.
What do you think, Lou?
I would have to say that the two gentlemen from the British Royal Navy were the more useless pair. They
For the same reason?
they literally yes.
Yeah.
They were so stupefied by their stupidity that they were able
Stupefied by
to
stupidity.
let him take the ship. I mean, I'll say this: Johnny Depp was going to take the ship regardless of who you put there, but that just made it so much more easier.
He
for him.
literally talked his way out of that one. He didn't even have
Yeah.
to do anything like masterful. He literally just
Which
used
is
a couple
totally
phrases.
a Jack Sparrow thing. He's talking his way out of everything. How many
Mhm.
times does he talk his way out of Barbosa in this movie?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
many times.
A few
He's like,
times.
that's the reason you got marooned in the first place.
God.
I would say, I would agree. I think that they're probably a little bit more useless, but I will say though that the two pirates did Patel and Ragetti. the two. I mess up their names all the time.
when they're dressed like girls.
When they're dressed like women in the boat,
Yes.
they start poking at each other, right? And he's like, "You look pretty," and the other one's like, "You're just straight up pretty," and they start beating each other up. And that actually is what makes the turning point for the battle on the ships. Because if they, and I said this to Luis as we were watching, I was like, if they hadn't messed that up right at that moment, then like Lieutenant Gillette or whoever was on the actual ship, the Interceptor, the Dauntless, or whatever they were on, they would have been killed, and it would have been over for the British people. They would have been done.
I think they would have been done and over. I don't really put it to that. I put it to they didn't notice that wasn't the turning point. It was the bell. Like the one guy on the ship started ringing the bell, and then they turned around and saw that the ship was under attack.
That's true. There's a couple different ones, but either way, I mean, they're both so stupid.
Right.
They're stupid, but at least they distracted them for a little bit.
That's true. Like,
with
hi.
With their beautiful
umbrellas. Their umbrellas. Like, they even like laugh like that. Like, hello. He does like the little hand wave, like,
I
so
can't.
funny.
Oh my god. Okay.
So who's your vote for then?
I would agree. No, I totally.
Yeah, the guards.
What about you?
The guards.
Useless. Yeah.
But they're really masterful.
The best, and both of those duos have the best like comedic effect of this movie.
Oh,
yes.
Like, they're so good.
For straight comedy, it's fantastic.
Right. And
like
I love that they keep coming back throughout the rest of the movie.
Oh yeah, they're always there.
Is it on this one? I think it is on this one where they're like climbing up the side of the ship and they're gonna go in and they look at each other and they like yell.
They're like
and they're like
ah! And then they just like charge because they look at and it's so funny because I feel like they've been best friends forever, right? Like they probably came into the Navy together, they trained together, they were the two
and they were partnered
guys,
that they didn't get any important jobs.
No.
So funny.
Charge!
I love them. And then I love how they become like, pirates later on. It's so funny.
Right.
I
Spoilers.
It's not spoilers. If you haven't seen all 5 movies, something's wrong with you. The only one that might be a spoiler is the 5th movie, because that one's fairly new.
Yeah.
True.
Salazar.
Whatever. Salazar. So let's talk a little bit about the coins, like the magic of this movie.
Yeah, I like
this curse is legit.
Yeah.
It is a legit curse. So there's Aztec gold. And this is where it takes a lot for me to think about it. So there's this Aztec gold in this treasure chest. And Jack is captain of the Black Pearl. And he wants to go, he knows where the treasure is. And for some reason, he tells Barbossa
because he trusted him.
Because he trusts him.
Right.
Like
it was his first mate.
And then Barbossa is just like, I know where it is. Let's have a mutiny.
Bye, Jack.
Bye, Jack. And it's
Bye.
so crazy. Like, I want to know, like, how bad of a captain he was to make every crewmate, like, mutant against him. Like, what was Jack doing to them? I don't know.
I assume he was just being Jack, right?
He was just being Jack, and he wasn't
just being pirates. Like mutiny is a thing.
Well, and it's funny that you say that because I think Luis will be the one to attest to this. But like, I feel like it's one of those things where like, if 3 or 4 of the 10 pirates are going to mutiny, you have to mutiny with them, or they're going to mutiny you.
Yeah.
Like, and I say that Luis would agree because it's like teacher strikes. Like, if you don't strike, like,
right,
you're mutinied.
Honestly, Jack kind of lucked out. Like, they went and stole all of this gold and gave it away, and because they gave the gold away,
him.
it was cursed. Then,
well, the gold was cursed before they touched it.
Right.
And the fact that they took it.
Then they got cursed and they spent it and gave it away. Yeah. I just want to know how many years did it take them to get
10.
all of those?
Yeah, it was
10
years.
years.
It took 10
them
years
to get those coins
which
back?
they're lucky. It should have taken a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I can't find coins in my own house, let
and
alone
the curse
across the
sounds
entire Caribbean.
Absolutely the worst. He says, we're not dead, but we're not alive. Like, we're part of the undead. We're constantly thirsty. Our thirst cannot be quenched. We're always hungry. We eat. Nothing happens. And we're always lustful. Like, none of their desires can be satisfied. When I'm hungry, I am straight up hangry. I can't even imagine how they're feeling.
Well, and
like,
If I had to deal with 10
worst.
years of a hungry Michelle, I would be
well, it's funny that you say that because at first Luis said something, and I don't know if like we were playing with the baby or something, but he was like, this curse ain't so bad. He's like, they're just kind of like chilling on a boat. And I was like, Lou, they're hungry. And he's like, what do you mean? Like 10 years of hunger. He's like, oh no, that's the worst curse.
Just hungry forever. And also he can't feel the wind on his face. Like their nerves don't work anymore, I guess. That's awful.
God, they can't feel warmth, wind. Like, they feel nothing. They're just numb.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Absolutely
they're
the worst.
ghosts.
Yeah,
They are
but
ghosts.
but like
Boat ghosts.
Ghost pirate.
Boat ghost. Boat ghost. Ghost pirate sounds better than boat ghost. But yes.
Boat
Go
ghost.
Ghost.
So, and it's funny
Boat
because,
ghost.
I mean, Jack's situation wasn't the greatest either. Barbosa left him with one pistol on a deserted island.
He was
And
just lucky that there were like
rum runners.
that
Yeah.
were just chilling like, hey.
And it's so funny because, like, the whole story where he's like, yes, and he roped a bunch of sea turtles. Sea turtles? Yes.
He's like, what did you use as rope? Hair from my back.
And it's funny because when him and Elizabeth Swann, and he was like, I was here for one day. Like, just getting drunk on rum.
Yeah.
Must be nice to be a pirate.
Must be
Must be
nice.
Why is the rum always gone?
So, yeah, so this magic, the curse. And let's talk about the infamous scene where there's two scenes where they first become skeletons, and Elizabeth Swann is on the ship, and the skeletons are like throwing her around and
Tossing her
everything.
around
Oh
like a
my
rag
gosh.
doll.
And I remember thinking when I was a kid that it was absolutely terrifying. And it still is absolutely terrifying. That moment when it like zooms in on Barbosa's skeleton face, and he's like, you best start believing in ghost stories, dearie. You're in one. Like, that's like every single time it says that, I get chills. And it's absolutely the best.
Well,
Like, that's the moment where I'm like, Barbosa is so cool.
Oh,
Like,
well, and it's so funny, too, because I think this is another thing we were talking about before the podcast started. It came out what? When did you say
2003?
2003? That's
insane.
how many years ago? I can't even think back that far.
15 years ago.
And it looks amazing.
It's
it looks really good for what it is. They're
oh
fully,
my gosh.
They're like almost fully CGI'd flesh bodies or whatever. And, it doesn't look perfect.
It
It looks
translates
a little
well
rudimentary,
though.
But
but
it's so
it
good.
holds
And it
up.
still
You
holds
don't
up.
you
Yeah.
don't look at that and you think like, ooh, that's bad, because there are some movies where you're like, just because of the time period, you think like, not that great, right?
Right.
This, it's because it was masterfully done. They took the attention to detail. They really cared about making sure that when you looked at the pirate when he was a skeleton, you knew which pirate it was.
Oh,
It's not
yeah,
like it was just
completely.
like a.
It still had like they would still have beards and
Well,
like their
Their
things
outfits
that
And I think that's what's so important is because sometimes when we watch movies with, especially with armies, you see like CGI'd armies and they're kind of just like massless.
All the same.
You don't really see any difference. But these, every single pirate, that's Twig, that's Rigetti, that's whoever.
Yeah.
You can tell because they have their earring or they have their tattoo on their
they
skeleton.
have those
like,
There's the dude with the
little
bombs.
defining
Yes.
aspects that it's them.
Yeah.
and that's, I
it's
think, what takes it to the next level.
Amazing. And I still get chills every time. Granted, it was the best on the big screen, and if they play this movie on the big screen again, I would go see it 100%. When they're trying to go attack the British people and they walk under the water,
Oh.
it's absolutely
It's a very stunning scene.
amazing. Like the way the light hits, and this is another moment where they really paid attention to sound. Like, skeletons, funny Halloween skeletons sound like click, 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 whatever. But the sounds that the bones and the skeletons and the way that they make all blends together so beautifully that it's absolutely spooky and like eerie, like that whole scene. And I love it. Like when they're crawling up the ropes, like it just looks so cool and it sounds so cool. I love it.
Fun fact about the special effect of the skeletons. The Industrial Light and Magic designers scanned turkey jerky to create the effect of decomposing skin when the pirates turned into skeletons.
Oh, I'll never look at turkey jerky. the
Turkey
same.
jerky Jack.
Turkey jerky Jack.
Oh.
That's so
Oh.
funny. But there's multiple scenes in this movie that I just think are absolutely amazing. Like the visual effects, everything visual in this movie to me gets 100%, like by far.
Oh, it's
Like,
fantastic.
It's beautiful. And it gives me chills every time. And that's how you know it's a good movie. When you like look forward to still seeing a
Oh,
scene.
yeah.
Like
I think of it that way.
yeah.
15 years later, and
Right.
there are moments in the movie where I am anticipating what they're gonna say. I
Oh,
know
yeah.
it. I know it
It's
in my heart.
coming.
It's coming, and they say it, and I still get excited.
Yes.
Which
That's how you know it's good.
and for me, there's a couple different moments in the movie, but for me, it's always the last thing he says right before it goes to the black screen, and he's singing. He's like, we, really bad
Me heart is
eggs,
your hoe.
and
And then it clicks down.
yes, that is it. Michelle, you go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
She took my moment.
Sorry.
It
I
clicks
jumped-
just like
I
a
jumped
piano.
on again.
Clicked right to the movie.
Drink up, me heart is your hoe. And he clicks his compass down.
Yes.
Oh, so good.
Well, and it's funny though because I don't know. It's just so beautiful. It's just so beautiful.
So beautiful.
But it is though. Everything about it is.
Well,
it's beautiful.
let's talk about another one of the characters who's actually really vital and low key one of my favorite characters for a very specific reason. So Elizabeth Swann
Yes.
could very well have been damsel in distress, real annoying,
Yeah.
real like testing your patience throughout the entire movie.
She could
And
have been.
yes,
She killed it.
yes, she did fall off the cliff and need to be.
It wasn't her fault they put her in that corset.
Right.
Yes, Michelle. But that's my point. Like, she totally could have like fallen off for any other reason, but like she had no. It wasn't her fault that she
control.
fell off. She
breathe.
couldn't breathe.
That
And
point.
pretty much every time she's quote unquote saved, it's not like it was like she put herself in some stupid
Right.
like princess.
She's not Daphne from Scooby Doo.
And she's still trying
no.
to escape. Like when they attack her castle, she's telling the maid, she's like, "Go hide. They haven't seen you."
Oh, yeah.
And she plays it well. She even knew what parlay was.
Oh.
like,
Yeah,
come
she has
on.
she has a lot of agency in
Well, she
in
also
these
was
movies.
kind of obsessed with pirates.
Well,
so,
and I
you know.
think one of my favorite things about her is that, like, yes, the will spoil is that she does become a pirate. She does become Pirate King, but she holds her own throughout this entire movie.
Right.
She fights back. She isn't allowing her circumstance to get the best of her. She's willing to like go out. One of my favorite parts is when she's like drop the code, whatever, let's go. She's trying to like get them all
Get on
back
the boat,
get on the
yeah.
boat, and then she's like, stupid pirates, and she's like rowing by
Nobody
herself.
wants to go with her.
And she's willing to go.
Yeah.
It is for Will, but it's also because she knows it's what's right.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
she's a total BA.
One of my
She's
one of
awesome.
my favorite scenes from her is where like they're not going to fight back, and they're like, "We'll just give her up," like and then they're like, "No, let's not give up. Let's load it with everything we got." And they load like forks and sharded glass or whatever. And you think she would be like hiding in the bottom of the bunker, and she's like, "Fire!"
Yeah.
She's like in it, like
gets
shooting
into
the
it.
cannons and stuff.
She yells at some pirates
God.
in this movie.
I
Oh.
was so obsessed with Keira Knightley, like my middle school days. I had posters of her in my room. She was one of the first. That was one of the first women characters to me that I experienced. That was not a damsel in distress. That was like this strong, almost heroic woman who wants to
Oh,
fight
yeah.
for what she believes in and things like that. It was one of those first characters that I experienced. So I was absolutely obsessed with her.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
she
does.
doesn't.
She does a very good job in this movie, which is impressive because I think she was only like 18 when this movie came out.
Really?
Yeah,
She
a
was
baby.
she was so good. I love her.
I really enjoyed her character, and I really enjoy the social differences between each of the character classes if you really think about them kind of like on a structure.
Right.
She was the governor's daughter, so she was what would be more of like a royalty for the
High
area.
status.
She has high status. Then there's Will,
Right.
who is
A blacksmith.
the blacksmith's apprentice.
Right.
He's
not even, a
not
full
even really
blacksmith.
like a blacksmith.
Even though his apprentice doesn't do nothing.
Yeah, he does all the work.
But he's definitely not getting the acclaim for it,
Right.
right? Because he even like the governor was like, "Tell your master like this was great," and
Yeah.
he's like, "I will."
when the blacksmith like smashes the bottle over Jack's head, and then the guard comes in and like, "Oh, thank you so much,
Norrington,
for,
yeah.
for doing all your work." He's like, "I was just
Doing
doing my
my
civic
civic
duty."
duty.
He was asleep the whole time. He had been drinking
and
all day.
he was what basted, marinated,
Marinated.
Marinated in it.
Marinated.
Meanwhile, Will Turner's like, "I made all these swords. I trained for 3 hours a day with all these swords."
so that when I find a pirate, I can kill it.
That's right.
And he says, "Kill it," which is really
Kill it.
And I also love
it's not
the
even a thing.
the juxtaposition, like Will Turner at the end when he's wearing the hat with like the feather and like his cape. I'm like, oh, he's a pirate now.
Right.
Well, and that's
Comes
Woo!
back all conquistador.
Well, and that's the thing is so you have Elizabeth who's up here like status wise, then you have Will who's below her,
Lower.
then you have the pirates who are much lower
Right.
than them in society's eyes, and everyone quote unquote wants to climb the social ladder during that time,
Yeah.
and every single one of them goes down
Yeah.
to be a pirate, like straight
Sure.
up, like no, thank you, I'm gonna take a step down and stand between you and Jack, and
Pirate
then
level.
and Elizabeth's like, okay, bye, Dad. Me too.
And it's so funny because his dad is just he's so chill about it. He's like, this is what you chose, and she's like, yeah. He's like, well, she a pirate now, I guess. Like, that's fine. One of the best lines from Jack then is like, it wouldn't have worked between us, darling. I'm like, shut. And she just looks at him. Him and Will, there's where you're talking about the facial expressions.
Oh, the facial
They
expressions.
look at him like, you're stupid. Like, that was never a thing. That was going to happen. Like,
Yeah. I really love Will, Jack, and Elizabeth as like a trio.
Oh.
in terms
brilliant.
Of,
yeah.
In terms of trios, they're really great because like Jack and Will, they're very much like foils of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Will is like straight and narrow, and Jack is like lazy degenerate, and
And she keeps him
Lazy
in check.
sideways.
right, yeah, and
She keeps him in check.
and Elizabeth is able to be the bridge between them and have them
Damn,
be able
lazy degenerate. Wow.
And
Is he
I'm gonna
not-
say it again. That was the
Dang.
triangle. That was the triangle that ruined my middle school days.
Oh
the love
my-
triangle.
So you were
It
in
wasn't
love
even a
with
triangle.
Kira as
I
It
mean,
well?
was.
It was a perceived triangle.
It was
Okay.
a perceived love triangle. That was a cliffhanger forever. I thought she was gonna leave Will Turner for Jack, and I was like, man, this is rough.
once
Anyways,
again jumping in the second movie.
it's fine.
This is why, my friends,
I have
This
a-
is why we're not watching all of them.
and it's
because
going
I'll
to be
jump
hard
the
for
gun.
us
Yeah.
to be really what's the
Yes.
word, like partial to one
focused.
movie, especially if
when
there's
a series
multiples.
like that. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
difficult.
Oh, I don't know about you guys, but I will be watching all those movies.
I
Oh,
know.
yeah.
I do
Yeah.
kind of want to watch them now.
Well,
we
It's
just won't
great.
be talking about them on the podcast.
yeah, we'll get to the second, third, fourth, fifth.
That'd be fun
of
if
these
like
movies at some point.
if we hosted like a movie series night like that, you know, like where we just like watched a bunch of
If
a
you guys just want to
series.
come over to our house and make popcorn and
Yeah.
we'll watch all the movies.
Come hang out
Ooh,
with
that
us.
sounds so fun. Let's do that. Okay, on
And if
another,
you guys don't come, we'll just do it on our own.
we'll do it anyways. On another note, this is one of the attractions. A lot of attractions these days. A movie. Think about Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. A movie was made. They made an attraction based on
Yes.
of it. All of Pixar Pier. All these movies were made. Now they're going to make attractions based on it. This was one of the. I think it might be like one of the only ones besides Tomorrowland where like this is an attraction already existing, and now we're going to make a movie about
Right.
it.
They made
Because
the ride
the
into a
Pirates of
movie.
the Caribbean attraction in itself at Disneyland is so popular and iconic,
Mm-hmm.
and I absolutely love it. I can quote that entire ride, like
Oh, yeah.
everything they say. Like my favorite thing to be is like, "Don't tell him, Carlos. Don't be chicken."
She
Like
says that every
I
single time we're on
love
the
Yes,
ride.
she does. If
It-
you ever want to go on Pirates of the Caribbean with Michelle, she will literally go through every
I
voice,
quote everything. Like I'm
everything.
obsessed with it. Like I
Everything.
love. Oh my
Don't
gosh,
be
one of my-
chicken.
Todo.
One of my favorite lines too is the skeleton at the top, like before you go down the first hill. He's like, "It'd be too late to alter course now," and it's funny because in I think the Maelstrom scene, like in another movie, Barbossa says that, and it's so funny. So
Yes.
they do a lot of references. So
I
we'll
have-
talk about
I have
the
a
references.
whole, I have a whole list of the references.
Oh,
right here in
amazing!
front
Go
of me.
over it.
Well, hold on. I want to say my favorite one, and then you can read the rest.
Okay.
Okay.
One of my favorite ones, and it's a hidden one to me, is when Barbossa takes a swig of his wine or whatever he's drinking,
Yes,
and it goes down his body.
Yes,
Right.
and I said that too. I was all there's the skeleton scene in one of the first scenes of the ride. A skeleton's drinking like that, and it glugs down his body. So brilliant.
Well, and it's cool because that one is, I call it hidden only because it's not in the same context, but it's very much a nod to the
Right,
ride.
to the
it's a
ride.
nod.
Because a lot of the other ones, you see them in context and you say, oh, okay, that's definitely,
That's from the
they're in
ride.
gold, so this is the gold scene or whatever.
Yes,
but that
like
one is a little bit
the
more.
chest full of gold is in the gold scene, and they
Exactly.
do this throughout.
All of them.
All of them. Yeah. All of the movies, there's references that I notice because I'm so like attention to detail about
Oh,
the
yeah.
rides. My favorite one before you go to the list is there's
Yeah,
always
hold on, Andre, you
There's
need to back
always
up.
like on the right side of the ride, there's like a drunken pirate laying down on pigs, and the pig's like or whatever, and he's just like is sitting
We
there
always look at their feet.
with a
Got
bottle,
so
yeah, with
dirty
a
feet.
bottle of rum like on top of his tummy. And when they do that
Tummy?
with Mr. Gibbs, and they like pour the water on him to wake up, I was like, oh, so now every time I go by there, I'm like, hey, Mr. Gibbs, there he is.
I'm already awake. That was
That was
the
the
smell.
smell.
and he's just like, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
All right, go through the list.
Okay, so they use the song Yo Ho, A Pirate's Life for Me.
Of course.
3 times.
I didn't hear that.
in the movie.
When did they do that?
Yo ho, a pirate's life for me.
And
so
every time they sing it, very interesting.
Drink up me
Each time it's a
honey's
different
yo.
rendition.
Yes.
The first time she's singing it,
I
it's
love
a
the
solemn
first one.
Young
hymn.
Elizabeth. Mm-hmm.
The second time, it is the second one when he's on the island.
It's Jack and Elizabeth on the island. Yep.
And it's very much like a happy
Yeah.
one. Michelle's like
I love that
13-year-old Elizabeth, and then at the end he sings it
And
again
by
on
Jack.
the boat.
Yep.
And but that one is exciting because
Really
that's
bad
almost like
eggs.
him. It's almost like he's finally the pirate.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I made it. I am Captain
And especially
Jack.
that scene where he's on the island and he's like, "Well, teach it to all the crew, and everyone will be singing it."
So it's like future telling for me.
Yes.
Right.
So it's like the different renditions really take you through the type of story that you're going to watch, which is cool.
I love
Anywho.
his version because he's like, "And really bad eggs," which is not in the ride, but it's funny.
There is, of course, in the jail scenes when the prisoners are all trying to get the keys from the dog.
I love
The,
it.
the very famous dog.
Love it. Andre does that every time on the
I
ride.
like-
I also know
I
this.
like whispering. The dog is never going to move. There's the burning town sequence.
And I like that he says that. That dog is never going to move. It's like,
It's almost like so funny because you've seen the ride so many
and
times.
you're like, yep, nope, he's not going to
It's
move.
never moving.
There's the
burning
lady
sequence.
the lady in red who slaps Jack.
We want the redhead.
The redhead,
The
yeah.
redhead. Which would be funny because they're redoing that scene now. If they like have her slap Jack, that'd be kind of funny. I don't think they will.
I doubt it.
Oh,
They
in
won't
the- in
because
the
it wouldn't
ride.
go out. It wouldn't go with the theme of the ride. but
Right, yeah.
They're
But
gonna.
I like that her name is Scarlet in the movie. And, and she's already been wronged by Jack.
She's already all about it. What's the other one's name?
Go back to the burning.
Do you remember?
I don't remember the
Like
other one's
Eloise or
name.
something?
Something
I
like
don't
that.
remember. But the burning town scene. You said burning town scene, but we didn't really talk about it. So when the Black Pearl comes to the town and is like cannonballing the entire town and it's on fire.
Port Royal is
Right.
Port Royal is
fire.
on fire and they're stealing everything. And my favorite thing is they're chasing the women. And it's exactly like the ride
right.
where the one pirate's just chasing the girl in a circle, like in the background in the burning scene. Oh, I love
Which
it.
apparently, I mean, we see the movie now where the woman is chasing the pirates,
Right, yes.
which we see them in a circle. But originally, when the ride came out, it was the pirates chasing the women,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was PC, not an they wanted to change it back so it was more correct, or it was
Yeah.
less
Sure.
um,
Less gross.
gross, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then in the movie they do it the other way, which
Yes.
again,
Yes. So funny.
Which makes sense.
even though if it was me and Michelle, we would be chasing the pirates. That's fine.
Yes, I would.
Not
Pirate.
to beat them with brooms.
Pirate daddies. There is the line "Dead men tell no tales," which is said by the parrot. Dead men tell no tales.
I love that parrot.
There's a quick shot.
the sails.
There's a quick shot of the skeleton who's like laid out on the beach, and there's a little crab
Yep.
nearby,
Uh-huh.
which is very fun. There's the man being dunked into the well during
Yes.
the raid on the town.
Carlos.
Yes.
Carlos,
There's also-
don't be cheek.
There's also just like the wine or the beer or whatever spilling
Yep.
out of the barrels,
Yep.
which is like one
Yep.
of my favorite features of the ride because it just looks very real, even
Oh,
though
it
it's
does.
obviously just like that silly.
I wanna ride
little
the ride so
string
bad
or
now.
whatever popping out. During the battle scene,
And that dude who's getting drunk off of that wine,
yeah.
he is like
He is.
Marinated and basted.
basted and marinated.
During the battle scene between the two ships, the Black Pearl and the Interceptor, Captain Barbossa refers to his crew as bloomin' cockroaches, just like the captain in the ride does.
Which is actually now Barbossa once they
Oh yeah, that's
updated
right.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, they have updated the ride, so Jack Sparrow is in there.
Mhm.
a
In
bunch.
2006, they changed the ride to include Jack Sparrow and Barbossa and Wiggly Worm Face.
Davy Jones.
Davy Jones.
Wiggly worm face.
You can't tell me he's not Wiggly Worm Face. Like, come on.
They're tentacles.
Whatever. Emily's looking at me like so gross right now.
And then there's references
Wiggly
to
worm.
and then there is of course references to the cursed treasure in the ride. The old pirates speak of cursed treasure and how you probably don't believe in it, and the line, "Who knows when that evil curse will strike the greedy beholders of this bewitched treasure."
Love it. And speaking of when they updated the ride in 2006, I loved Pirates of the Caribbean, so I wasn't necessarily like super excited that they were going to update the ride because we didn't really know what it was going to be. Like, I thought they were going to change the whole ride, and I wouldn't have liked that. But all they did was add a Jack animatronic in very subtly in each of the scenes, and they kind of, some of the pirates now talk about, like, there be Jack, where is he? Like, you know, because they're searching for him because he was supposed to be on a deserted island, dead. But he looks so lifelike. Like, the first moment
I remember thinking he was a real person.
I thought he was a real person. Which is so funny because he just did that to
they did
promote
that
the
recently,
fifth movie,
right?
which I'm extremely jealous. I would have lost.
He was
it.
at
God.
Disneyland just hanging out in the ride and saying lines.
And then the very, very last scene when you're going,
I would have lost my mind.
Oh yeah.
There's not many times in my life where I feel like I would lose my mind. I mean, we've seen some celebrities in the park, and it's exciting. But if I saw Johnny Depp as Captain Jack, not
full
just in
on
general,
in
but
makeup
like
and costume,
I would lose my
walking around all
I would have jumped
drunk.
off the boat. I would have been like, "Come here, pirate!"
Oh my god!
I don't know about
God.
that.
I probably
back
would have been
Michelle.
so starstruck that I wouldn't have believed it at first. I would have been like, "That's not." Is it an actor? Like, I bet they probably thought it was an actor, like not actually Johnny Depp.
Right.
But
there's no
gosh,
shortage
it's
of Johnny Depp
insane.
impersonators out
Oh,
there.
and some of them
so many.
look just like
they
him.
do it very well.
I'm gonna talk about that on Craig in the Vault too. So my only other
Patreon.com/Wallball.
my only other scene is when you're going up at the end of the ride to like go back to where you get off the boats. The scene on the left where Jack is like on the chair with holding a bunch of treasure and he has the crown on. That happens in the movie where like the curse is broken and he's taken all the treasure and he has his crown on and he tells Will Turner like, if you were looking for your moment, that was your moment.
Yeah, you straight up missed it, homeboy.
Yeah,
well,
did.
there's another one too, and this one I don't think is as direct. They actually do it very like from the movie to the or from the ride to the movie in a different one. I want to say it's the third movie, but. It reminded me of it when we watched it this time is when he has the I don't even know if he's on the Black Pearl or the Interceptor, but they're in Thunder and Lightning outside and you hear the cracking of the lightning and the sky keeps going black and white and he said like it can hold a little longer or whatever, and that to me reminded me of the scene in the ride when you're going by and on the right hand side you see the thunder and the lightning and then you see the pirate face in skeleton form. So to me it was very reminiscent, even though it wasn't him as a skeleton Jack. But they do that later on in the series.
It's another one is when they go through the swamp, like in the bayou. I think it's the third movie, or maybe it's the second movie.
One of those.
When they go to see
it's the third movie. Yeah, when they go see Calypso, when they're in their boat going to go see Calypso. That's like they literally took the swamp scene from the beginning and then put it in. Like, it was shot by shot. Like, this is the swamp. Which is so cool. I love it.
Calypso.
I love
Calypso. And then Barbosa rises from the ashes. Barbosa.
She's great. The first three movies are my life, guys. Like,
Barbosa.
That's good stuff.
Gosh,
dude,
good
Zoe
stuff.
Saldana's in this movie.
She is.
And I forget,
wait, which one is she?
I forget every single time. She's the young pirate who he stole her boat.
Oh, yeah. You stole my boat.
Well, and it's funny because Luis even said was like, "That's Zoe Saldana," and I was like, "No, it's not." Like, I don't know. I don't know if I've seen her in a whole bunch of other stuff, but obviously she's our favorite Gamora in
Love Gamora.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Thank you. In she's Green Lady.
Yeah,
She's Lady. She's Gamora.
But without like all of that going on, I'm like, is it her? It's definitely
beautiful,
it's
though.
very
I
much
love
it's definitely her. Yeah.
Luis, I'm going to need you to hop in on a conversation over here about history. So, speaking of the scene with Zoe Saldana, they're saying it's bad luck to have a female on a boat. And I'm thinking that's why there really wasn't so many women pirates. But then Andre made the comment that, like, in China and Asia, there was a ton of female pirates. But over here, like in the British culture, it was like bad luck to have a female on a boat, so there really wasn't any pirates. So how accurate is it that that girl is actually there, like being a pirate? You know, I was a little bit confused.
I think it's just
historically.
Yeah, I'm reading a Wikipedia page right now. It says on many ships, women as well as young boys were prohibited by the ship's contract, which all crew members were required to sign. But that didn't stop, a ton of women from getting
Well, I
on
think there's a couple different things, and
becoming
Louie, you can
pirates.
give us your 2 cents. I would say number one, she was dressed as a man.
As a man,
Right,
yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like,
She's kinda hiding it.
She wasn't like broadcasting the fact that she was a female. And number two, think about the culture itself. in like Singapore, which they go to Singapore in another movie, that's where there were a lot of the female,
Exactly, yes.
the
in
female
the
pirates.
Asian countries.
And even when Elizabeth dresses up, when she becomes like the pirate king
She's
or
wearing
whatever,
the
she's
Asian
wearing
garb,
an Asian
yeah.
pirate outfit. Yes.
And so for her, that is much more acceptable. Think about, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but in British culture, it is very patriarchal.
Yeah,
And
especially at the 1700s during this time.
Exactly. So I think that might have a lot to do with. I think that a lot of times people say things are bad luck or it's a curse when
Right.
it's really
Yeah.
just like, nah, I'm going to keep the man on top.
But which was so cool that like Elizabeth Swann became a pirate because it was like, yeah, you go, girl.
Yeah.
What do you
Get
think, Lou?
Pirates are like, you know, they're very superstitious.
Yes.
There are
Yes.
A cowardly and
The
superstitious lot.
code.
Yeah, I mean, I would think you can have, you know, an orange pill on there, and they could find some way of finding how having an orange pill on your ship is going to be wrong. But
True.
How you gonna get scurvy if there's a bunch of oranges on this shit?
There's, I don't know. There's really not a lot of like historical focus on piracy.
Piracy.
You know, but there's not like, you know, classes in college that are, you know, medieval Caribbean pirates or anything.
Wouldn't
like
that be
So
fantastic? I'd be
I
taking
really
that.
can't give my 2 cents on it because I don't know.
Yeah, I'm looking at a list of female pirates, and there's several from the 18th century, several from the 19th century, and several from the 20th century. Actually, all the ones from the 20th century are all Chinese, and it's which is very interesting. So and these are just the super famous ones. So I assume that there were, you know, many women pirates who had to disguise themselves or took command of a ship or whatever, what have you. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Elizabeth got onto a ship. I bet it
Very
happened
true.
just like that.
No, totally. She
In
dressed
real
as a man, like used her womanly wiles to get all up in the business,
Right.
and then moved along.
Yes.
Hold on, Michelle. She's scrolling through something right now. Go back.
Okay.
Are you looking at the thing on his face?
The scab.
Okay, there is
Oh,
a
yes.
scab
I read
on
about this.
Captain Jack Sparrow's face, and it's in every movie.
Yeah, it
Yes.
is.
Please tell me what that is and why.
All
because
right,
I noticed
will
it.
read
And it was,
this. The welt on Jack Sparrow's chin was added as something of an in-joke between Johnny Depp and the makeup team. Throughout the first film, it gets progressively more obvious, suggesting that Sparrow is infected with syphilis. There are other character references that were ad-libbed. Orlando Bloom's riff on Depp Sparrow's performance, blah, blah, blah.
Oh,
And
which
Depp
is when he
himself-
does the. Is that why he has
that
the?
he has gold teeth in his dentist implant more than the producers actually wanted. So that's why. It was just a joke.
Yeah.
It
Well,
was a
it's
joke.
good. It's good that they're so, like we said, the attention to detail, because I noticed it. Right, it's
Yeah.
in every stinking
Right.
movie.
Yeah.
It is.
Johnny, he's
He-
like, hey, let's just make the scab a little bit bigger, and they make it bigger and bigger and bigger
Yeah.
throughout the whole movie, which is fun.
And also a little scary for everyone else
Just
on
a
board.
little creepy. Yeah. There's also like I think he wears contact lenses in the movie. Johnny Depp does, and they act as sunglasses for him. Like they block the sun, so he's not squinting in like every single scene because
Oh, that's
the
good.
sun is out and about most of the time. So
Oh
he
yeah,
was-
and if you think about like most of the scenes, they're very bright.
Yeah.
They're not like half shaded scenes.
No.
They're out in the middle of the
this is
Caribbean.
not foggy London.
Yeah.
This is the
Well, it's
bright
funny that you say
Caribbean.
that, because when you see him like just as a normal actor out on the street, he's almost 90% of the time wearing sunglasses.
Right.
So I wonder if he has
Yeah, he might have some eye problems.
he
Who
might
knows?
have some sensitive eyes.
Some sensitive eyes.
So I'm gonna go through a few more fun facts. Andre really likes. We kind of have a thing about sounds in movies. Like I
Like
don't
sound
know why.
effects?
Like sound effects. Yes, the Wilhelm scream is in the first 3 movies.
Yes. Yes.
So it is in the Curse of the Black Pearl. It's heard in the background of the battle on the Dauntless.
Yes.
Which is so funny. Andre knows that scream very well.
Yeah,
He'll be like, "There's the Wilhelm."
The Wilhelm scream is in dozens of movies, like hundreds.
It's literally
of movies.
everywhere.
Yeah. Which is so funny.
Just like Pizza Planet Trek, yes. Which also is in this movie. Just kidding.
There is a hidden Mickey in this movie.
Is there where?
Yes,
There's just one,
Hang
yes.
on. Wait, I have it right
Dun,
here.
dun, dun, dun,
The
dun,
final
dun,
cannon
dun,
shot
dun,
during
dun,
the
dun,
Black
boom,
Pearl's
boom.
siege of the town billows into a Mickey Mouse head shape against the night sky.
Oh.
I didn't notice it in the movie. I had to look it up, but
Oh, man.
check it out.
Well, maybe I'll find a picture of it and then we'll post it.
Yeah.
Oh, also, okay. So you know how you were kind of talking about like even Hans Zimmer was like, a pirate movie?
Mhm.
Because pirate movies, typically in the box office before this, did not do well at all. Like, they just...
And I can't typically think that they would do
They
well
didn't
after this
fare
either.
well,
Like,
but-
Right.
you know what I mean?
You
Go
know the
ahead.
scene where Jack Sparrow and Will Turner are on the boat under the water? Like, they're holding the boat over their head.
Yes.
And he's like, this is either brilliant or the most idiotic idea you've ever had. 'Cause,
Brilliant
like,
or madness, yes.
Yeah, something like that. So that is a reference to the Crimson Pirate, I guess. It's a movie.
Oh.
But
Oh.
I don't know any other pirate movies. But apparently that was like a scene
Oh,
in that movie.
cool.
Gotcha, yeah.
Well, you know what's
That's
funny about that is that I think a lot of people actually know this, but they've done a couple of the Pirates of the Caribbean like stunts or things, and that's one of them on Mythbusters.
Oh.
So
Oh.
like they wanted to know like could
that
you
actually work?
could you
pull a
actually pull the boat
down
down,
to the bottom of the ocean
and then walk with
Interesting.
it so you could
have
breathe?
air breathing above it? Did they?
They tried, and it was almost successful pretty much almost every time, but the problem was is that getting the boat to stay down, you can keep the oxygen in there, right? You can keep the air underneath because you get the air as you move down.
Right.
It's just that you would need so many more people down pulling the weight
To
of the
hold it
boat
down.
Exactly.
or you'd have to like weight yourself down like
Exactly.
with chains or something. crazy like
Exactly.
that, because
So I just
it's a
thought that-
boat. It floats.
Oh yeah, so it wants to go up. So for you would actually go up with it. You
Right.
wouldn't be able to hold it at the bottom
Couldn't
of the
do
ocean.
it with just two
Okay.
dudes.
But I thought that was funny because when you watch that scene, you're like, "That is so brilliant,
So smart.
You know,
Yeah, it's
so
so
brilliant."
cool.
There's a lot of stuff that Jack does in this movie that are they're very smart. He's
Well, and
he's
here's-
good at being a pirate.
Here's the deal,
He
though.
is good at being a pirate.
Luis and I said this. We said because I know I've said how many times have I said on this episode? That's my favorite line. But one of my favorite, not Jack Sparrow lines,
Oh.
is when they say, you know, like you have to be the worst pirate I've ever seen or
Right.
I've ever heard of, and then the other guy is like, he's the best pirate
they
I've
steal
ever
the
seen.
Interceptor.
Oh, because they
Right?
steal the Interceptor. That scene's so great.
But it's funny because Luis and I were arguing. Is he the best pirate or is he really the worst pirate? Because so much of what he does comes on luck,
Yeah.
Luck.
comes on talking his way out of situations,
True. Which
comes
is a
out
skill.
of being silly. Yes, but are they pirate skills? That's my question.
I
Which-
don't think so. It's funny because when I think of a pirate, I think of like the crew and everyone like that, where they just, you know, they want to raid and pillage and steal money. Like
he
that's
doesn't
a
really
pirate
do
thing,
all of
which
those
he
things.
doesn't really. Which is funny when you meet his father in the other movies and you're like, oh, that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, you know, but to me, it's totally luck. Like, he's lucked his way out of every situation. He's talked his way out of every situation. He is extremely smart.
Oh,
And are pirates really
Brilliant.
extremely smart? No.
and that's kind of where I'm
Barbosa
like,
falls for it every time.
and I love
Right.
it.
Every
It's
time.
great.
He had this plan from the beginning when he was in the jail cell, and he was like, "What's your name?" And he was like, "William Turner." And you could tell it, like in that moment
Yep.
he planned all of that.
Oh, yeah. He
He's
knew what was going on.
extremely
For William,
brilliant,
you
but is
say?
it because of his piracy skills? No, I think he just has a brilliant mind, and he's lucky, and he talks his way out of every situation.
Here are my 2 cents. I
Two.
half agree
Two.
with you. Yes, he is very, very smart, Michelle. I agree with you in that respect.
He is.
But however, I'm going to pose a little bit of a devil's advocate with Barbosa.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think that Barbosa falls for it because he is smart
Right.
himself.
Barbosa is also smart.
I just think that Barbosa has a
Soft spot for Jack.
him that he like, and he kind of feels guilty about the mutiny after having that curse. So he has that soft
Yeah.
spot for him, and he's like, "Okay, I'll help you out." But
also
I
the
do-
things he's offering Barbosa help Barbosa too. So he's
That's
like,
true.
okay.
Sure. Yeah.
I do agree to the fact that he is definitely a strategist.
Oh,
Pirates
sure.
are more like pillage and burn
and
like you
gung
guys
ho,
said.
like
Yeah.
let's just do it.
Let's just
He's
do
the
it.
perfect
Think about
captain.
Tortuga. Like, come
He
on.
is the perfect captain. However,
Not a captain of pirates.
I think he's
Right.
he would be more kind of like the king of pirates because, in my opinion, because he's too smart.
Yeah.
Like he sees things.
Y'all
way
go do this.
beyond his what most pirates would have in his in their vision. Like when you said when he saw Will, he already knew what was going to happen.
Well, it's funny
You
too
know?
because, and Michelle's gonna tell me that's not what we're talking about, but it's true because this is how I also view Dumbledore in the Harry Potter series. When I look at, well, not silly. Well, he's kind of silly.
He's silly.
But
He's
here's the
silly.
deal: Dumbledore. When I look at him, he almost never, which I know doesn't make sense, almost never uses magic. He is not. Neither
Yeah.
is freaking what's his face, my Gandalf with the staff. They're not using magic.
Gandalf.
What are they doing?
Talking.
They're talking their way out of
Talking,
situations.
yes.
They're watching what's happening around them. They're
Smart.
using their
They're-
they're just strategizing
Observant.
constantly.
All these guys would make great leaders. Like,
Oh, yeah.
if,
Yeah.
You know, if they chose that particular route.
But a lot of times it's not using their number one given like skill to fix the problem. They're using everything else to either distract or just make something happen.
Right.
And I really appreciate that because like think about Dumbledore. I mean, he could have blasted himself out of the situation, but
Sure.
you know, he allowed things to unfold so that the story could continue. Same thing with Jack.
I read
you know?
that Will Turner is supposed to be like the best swordsman in the movie, and then it goes down to Barbossa, and then like Jack is like the worst swordsman, hands down.
I don't know if I agree with that though, because the scene where Will Turner and Jack Sparrow are fighting, he kind of talks. I agree that Will Turner is the best, but I think Jack's under him because he's even like, "What if I do this footwork this way?" And he's like, "You know your footwork."
Jack only
like
wins
I think
because he cheats.
Oh yeah,
which is
Jack is totally
Yeah, okay,
getting
that's
which is
true.
how he wins every
True.
situation that he's in.
he doesn't win every situation he's in. I'm
Well,
jumping
that
the gun
too.
again. The only person to ever outsmart Jack is Elizabeth Swann when she cuffs him on the boat after she kisses him.
Yes.
Second movie.
I don't care. I had to say it.
But here's the deal. Here's the thing about all that. Even in that fight, even in the middle of that fight, the only reason he ever gets an upper hand on Will is because he does something out of pirate character.
Out of the box.
Yeah.
never
They're more
like-
like guidelines, anyways.
Exactly. They're more like rules than guidelines. Right? Look, I just, oh my god, I can't. I love Barbossa, but I agree with you on the swordsmanship.
That does make sense.
One of my favorite things about Barbossa is when he's standing on or near the pirate chest of Cortez. He's up on the top looking down on all his like minion crew, and he's like, any of you want to fight me? And he twirls his sword to the right and swirls it back to the left, and he's like, come at me. I don't even know what he says, but it's just so he's such a pirate. Like
Right.
Jeffrey Rush in that moment is, like you said,
He's
there
very
is
good.
no other
He's brilliant.
there's no other Barbossa.
He is
Such a
brilliant.
good performance.
And that's the
from
good
him.
thing about all of these characters. They're so believable. There's not anyone that I would like to see switched out. Like,
Right.
there's no
No,
character
everyone
that
is
I'm like,
cast
ooh.
So amazing. Like, it's perfect.
Luis, is there anyone that you... is there anyone who annoys you or that you would take out? Because usually you have a
An
old man
annoying
negative.
character.
Let's see. Old man negative time.
Old man negative.
You know what?
'Cause I can't think of anyone that I would take out.
Not for this one.
I
I'm not
can-
gonna jump the gun into the second movie, but not this one.
Good
Okay.
choice.
Okay, I
Good
will
choice.
say that he shouldn't be deleted from the movie because he's the governor, but I can very well compare him to Jasmine's father.
Useless.
Oh, yeah.
Both useless, and it's so funny because this giant fight scene is happening outside on the Dauntless, and he's in his little thing fighting a skeleton hand, like
And having-
And he's so scared of it.
And is literally having as much trouble
Right.
as the rest of the British
everyone
Navy
else.
is having with full-on pirates.
He
So
stuffs the
it's
hand
a-
in a drawer and he's like, oh my god, there's a hand in here.
so hilarious.
Are we ready for ratings?
Yes, we've been talking about this for a long
Okay.
time.
I
Oh.
would.
We've
I,
been talking
I do
about
want
this.
to ask you since you usually do the ratings. How many like awards has this movie won? Like,
Oh,
Oscar wise, I'm
that's-
sure it won a ton.
It was
right?
up for 5 Academy Award nominations.
It was nominated for
Wow.
5 Oscars. It won 36 other awards.
It didn't win any Oscars.
It did not win any Oscars. I believe the second and or the third one won a special effects Oscar.
Okay.
But this one was
Not
nominated.
like original score. or
This was
anything?
nominated for Best Actor for Johnny Depp, Best Makeup, Best Sound Mixing, Best Sound Editing, and Best Visual Effects.
Okay.
Yeah. It was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Performance by an Actor, Johnny Depp, and it was
Interesting.
nominated for a couple of BAFTAs. It won a BAFTA in 2004 for Best Makeup and Hair.
Okay.
But yeah, it didn't.
Which
win.
I agree with all of those.
Right,
I mean,
it did
those
not
are
win any
all.
Oscars.
All great things. Yeah, that they could have won completely.
It made a boatload of money. Its
A
budget
boatload.
was $140 million, and it grossed in total in the U.S. $305 million, and its cumulative worldwide gross was $654 million,
Oh,
which for
wow.
And for the
2003
time-
was a lot of money.
I mean, after this first movie came out, people were dressed in their pirate garbs, going to the premieres for the next ones. Like it was a following.
It's a successful
Yeah.
movie.
Definitely.
Well, and for being a movie based off of a ride, being its own single, very standalone, like there's no
Right.
other
They
reference.
did it perfect.
They did well.
It did very
What's
good.
its Rotten Tomatoes?
Its Rotten Tomatoes score is certified fresh at 79%.
Oh,
Yes.
pshaw.
That is a lie.
It has an 8.0 on IMDb and a Metacritic score of 63 out of 100.
What?
But
Okay.
but it did very well.
What other movie came out that was like superior to it? Because this movie is
Superior.
Superior.
Too
movie's killing
loose.
it. I'll give it my rating right now. This
Hit it.
movie. Ooh, okay.
You were very confident
Almost
and then
had
you
it.
it.
I was gonna say this movie is a 10 out of 10.
Oh.
Okay.
Because I love this movie. It's amazing. There's nothing I can complain about, but I would give it a 9.8. It would get a 10 if it was like that very thumpy, loud Hans Zimmer score.
Thumpy.
Thumpy.
But
So,
here's
like,
my
bum,
question.
bum, bum.
Okay, you have to pause here.
Okay.
Take every other movie out of your head. Can you do that? Take it all out. You don't.
Single this
you
one
don't
out.
know anything about any other thumpy Hans Zimmer
Then
score.
it's a 10 out of 10.
Okay, because if you didn't know at all about the thumpier score, you would. What would you say?
10 out of 10.
Okay.
10 out of 10.
That's my only other 10 movie. Wow, I've got 2 10 movies now. I forgot what my other one was.
2 10s.
It was probably
it was
like
Aladdin.
Aladdin,
Yeah.
I think.
I think I'm going to give this movie.
One jump.
Like,
The
I
bread.
think I'm gonna give it
One
an 8,
swing.
an 8.5. What?
Whoa.
Is that low?
That's
really- Yeah, it's very
I
low.
apologize.
No, that's really good, actually.
No, I like this movie a lot. Once again, pirates is not my favorite genre, but I really like what they do with the curse and the magic and the fantasy aspect of the whole thing. The movie is really well done. All the special effects are great. Like, not even just skeleton pirate special effects, but just like being on boats and shooting cannons and sword fighting
Yeah,
and
it's
all
great.
that kind of stuff. The costuming is really
If-
fantastic.
Never
If-
bored during the
If you
action
have
scenes.
a DVD of this movie, most of them came with like a second disc, and it shows like a lot of the way that the movie was shot and whatnot. And for me, I usually never watch those, but for me, I was really interested on how they were on the boat. Like you
Right.
said, there's so much water scene and how they really utilize a very small space, right? And how it literally was shot on barges. Like
Right.
they were on
they
the
were
water.
on location.
They were not like on some set that looked like they were
amazing.
on water.
At one
Amazing.
point, Keira Knightley and like a boat skipper and her mom were out on a boat on like a night shoot, and their boat went down, and they had to get rescued like a couple of hours later.
That's hilarious.
I love
Like,
it.
talk
I
about
absolutely
being in
love it.
character. They should have just shot it and been like in the movie. Boom.
Boom.
Ooh,
Pow.
I'm having. You know, you told me to forget about the other movies. But
You
I'm
said
not-
you already,
said
said 10.
your score.
Yeah, if this one's a 10 out of 10, then the second movie's 12 out of 12, and the next movie's
Right.
15 out of 15.
I think
like,
I do enjoy the second movie a little bit more, but
we're not
talking
yeah,
about that.
Yeah, that's hard.
So
Okay,
what was
your
your?
turn.
You said
My
8.
score for this is 8.5.
Okay, Luis, what's your score, my dear?
9. I really like this movie a lot.
9.
Like I said,
9.
I would watch it over again if I could right now. And I don't know. Like right now, I can't really tell you why I would give it a 9. But if I were to be watching it, it's just a weird feeling I get. Like, ooh, yeah, this scene just
great.
happened. So 9. Boom.
Boom.
Boom. He sounded like the cannon. Boom.
Boom.
Just like a cannon.
All right, what about you, Emily?
I'm gonna give it a 10.
Woo!
10
I did
out
it.
of 10.
I did it. I finally did it. Here's the,
Bum, bada-bum. I'm just kidding.
her hips were going on that one. Ba-da-bum-bum. Here's the deal. There is no problems for me in this movie. There's no slow moments. I'm constantly excited. The music's fantastic. There are no characters I don't like. There really isn't anything that I'm not a super big fan of.
Can't critique it, man.
I can't. Yeah, there's not many points where I would say not so fabulous.
Right.
And because of that, I will say for the time and for the CGI that they had and everything, especially at the time period, 10 out of 10.
Yes.
I agree.
Good stuff.
Woo.
Good
Boom.
stuff.
Love it.
Next week, I'm so excited.
Are you guys ready to find out what our next movie will be? It's
Tangled, the best princess movie.
This is
In your opinion.
Emily's
Whoa, that's
fave.
Just kidding.
Absolute fave?
This is Emily's
Total fave?
favorite princess movie is Tangled, with Miss Rapunzel and her hair and Flynn Rider and Maximus and Pascal and all the fun buddies.
I think
Because
this was
way
the
down deep
first.
inside, I've got
This
a
was like the
dream.
first 3D animated Disney animated film.
I
right?
think so,
Th-
yeah.
This was the one that came out right after Princess and the Frog, which is the last 2D animated.
True.
movie.
I believe
Yes.
so.
And
Tangled,
it, yes.
2010.
Yes.
Check it out.
It was only 2010? That wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't.
It was 8
Wow.
years ago. It was almost
yeah, but
a decade ago.
considering...
That just made my eyebrows raise. Thanks, Andre. Oh my God.
right,
Almost 10
whatever.
years ago.
Uh-huh.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
Anywho,
So yeah, tune in for that. What
and then
else?
after that, we'll do our battle for the last week of March.
Yes.
Boom,
that's-
boom, boom.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
right.
our voting.
Which is crazy that
Pow, pow.
we're already there.
Yeah,
Boom, cannon, boom.
we did a lot.
So I just
Boom,
want
cannon,
to boom. I want to reiterate: if you are not a subscriber to our Patreon page, now is the time to do it because I'm gonna have a lot to say on this week's Crack in the Vault.
Yes.
I got a lot to say.
So please go to patreon.com/the Walt Vault
To crack in.
Yeah, to crack in. You can
Crack
sign up
in.
for
To
as
peek
little
in
as
the crack.
$1 a month.
Crack
You're
in the
not
vault.
gonna miss it. I promise you. And you'll get access to our very fun after show called A Crack in the Vault. And if you sign up at a higher level, we'll send you some gifts. Gifts. We love gifts.
It sounded like you were saying gifts, like GIFs. I was like, gifts? We have a gift?
Gifts.
Like,
I'll
cool.
make a gift. You guys can have gifts of us. That would be awful.
In addition to Patreon, go to our Instagram at the Walt Vault Pod. That's where you're going to be able to vote, and you can comment on all these episodes. And we post a lot of fun content over there. Our social media advisor is awesome at it. You can also follow us on Twitter
Awesome.
at The Walt Vault Pod, or you can like us on Facebook at The Walt Vault Pod. And please feel free to send us questions or messages or corrections if we got anything wrong to any of those social media platforms in the DMs, or you can send us an email to contact at thewaltvaultpod.com, and we'll read your message on the show like we did today with Mr. Michael. Go to the Patreon. I already mentioned that. You can also subscribe to us on all of the podcast platforms. We're on YouTube. We're on Stitcher. We're on Google Play. We're anywhere you can get podcasts, except for Spotify. They're a little weird about adding new podcasts. But, of course, we're also on iTunes, which is where I want you to go and leave us a review or just a rating. 5 stars is my favorite amount of stars, and that's what you should give us. Because once you do that, it helps get the word out about us. It helps promote our page. It helps more people listen to us. And